episode
Loaded
9
Sport.
Does it sit second, then?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 47 of Loaded Sport. Yet another week of action across all the different sports that we like to discuss, and yet another huge weekend coming up. We've got so much to talk about tonight. We've got Man City now top of the table in a cup final, and by the time we record the next episode, they will have had the first leg against Real Madrid. So we're going to talk tonight on the potential of a treble winning season. We've also got Big Sam back in at Leeds, 4 games to go. Leeds in a relegation battle. What can he do to turn their season around and get them in the Premier League for another year? We're also going to talk about a little bit regarding the National League and the upcoming playoffs, and Adam's thoughts on Chesterfield's potential road to success, and if he thinks Chesterfield have used links that other teams don't have to get them where they are after him slating Wrexham recently and their money and what that's done for them. Kempy's Comeback Corner, we're also going to be previewing UFC 288 coming up this weekend. We've got plenty of F1 action with Baku to be reviewed and Miami to be previewed. An update in the Premier League of darts. We are just 1 week away, lads, from attending it, but we've got Leeds last week and Manchester this week to discuss. And also the NFL draft has come and gone. We're going to have a look at our team's picks, what we're happy with, what we're not too sure with, and we're also going to give you our definitive number 1 favourite and best fit from the draft overall. First of all, as always, we are going to have the latest edition of the Listener Lock-In. We are now in to the final 3, and joining us tonight, off the back of Ado's performance last week of 2 out of 6, we have got Liam. Liam, how are you doing, mate?
Hi, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
All good?
Yeah, all good. Always.
Good. Now, we're going to start off with the question that we ask every single one of our guests, and we had a bit of a clump of Derby fans at one point, but other than that, we have had a good spread so far this season. But who do you support and why?
So, I'm Swindon born and bred, grew up in the town, been a season ticket holder since I was 8, so 20 years now. Started with, funnily enough, a 1-0 loss at home to Crewe, so don't ask me how that started, but I think the main sort of love for the club came with the Dennis Wise era, the 2006 promotion, and from there, really, not looked back, home and away.
Yeah, and Adam, do you want to chip in with losing at Wembley to Chesterfield, or do we just let that one go?
No, mate, we've had plenty of time making my comments clear about that. He actually was one of the few people that agreed with me and said that we deserved to win that game as well. There were plenty of Swindon fans that told me that Chesterfield weren't the better side and we should have lost that game. But no, we walked out with a 2-0 win. We lifted the trophy, and Craig Westcott even got on the score sheet, who we can say as much as we want about, Liam, yeah?
Fair enough, but go on, Liam, go on.
No, I was going to say, I don't know what conversation you think you've had there, Adam, but yeah, we'll go with it, seeing as it's your podcast.
Yeah. Easy! I want to dive into that a bit more. That's fiery comeback, that.
That is that's some sour memories. That Craig Westcott, I'm sure I still have nightmares about him somewhere. But
shouldn't have been on the field, should he?
No,
I reckon we could just have.
Look how fucking coy Adam is, right? He should be on the field, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I've never seen him.
You
so
went full
smug.
Henry smirking here,
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, as someone that many years ago lived in Swindon, and I remember one game I went to, and like I don't know if it's Mandela effect, but I want to say Boxing Day 1996. That's sort of where I've always thought. I feel like they beat like an Oldham 3-0. Might have absolutely butchered that. I'm going to have to Google that at some point because I feel like that is true, and I was there. But is the County Ground still one of the rustiest stadiums in English football, or have they sorted it out over the last 25 or so years?
Oh, I think given some of the Football League grounds that I've gone to, I think that's probably rustiest stadium's a bit cruel. But the club and the trust have gone into a 50-50 venture with to buy the ground from the council now, so that's now owned in a 50-50 venture. The owner Clem's got sort of lots of plans to renovate and rejuvenate the stadium, so that there's lots of plans and talks. So hopefully, if you weren't too happy with it previously, give it a few years, and you might see a brand spanking new renovated stadium. Fingers crossed. But yeah, don't think it's the worst in the Football League, that's for sure.
Like I said, my brain says 96, so that is a long time ago, and a lot will have changed since then. So
yeah, and they might be in League One, but Hillsborough is still a Football League ground. So unfortunately, you're not going to talk about any stadium being rustier than that at the moment, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Any opportunity to get a dig in on the Owls, eh? But onto this season, Liam. So Swindon, one game left to play, which we played on Bank Holiday Monday. Position-wise, mid-table, they sit 10th, but in terms of points off the playoffs, they are 17 points off. So quite a bit off of being in that playoff race, but comfortable in their overall finish. What are your thoughts on the season? What have they lacked, and what do you think they need to do over the summer to get themselves in the playoff hunt next year?
I think it's no secret that the club have had probably a disappointing season in terms of performance. I think they were quite public as a club in saying, the aim was promotion. I think there was a lot of signs and talk about that being the aim. Obviously, just missing out really on the playoff final last year by a penalty, pretty much against Port Vale. One of those penalties goes in, and we're at Wembley. I think anyone would have given Mansfield a run for their money the way they turned up last year at Wembley. In the summer, just lost a lot of key players, lost the manager. Ben Garner went to Charlton. We lost, experienced players that got us to that playoff final. Jack Payne, Jojo Woolacott, Harry McCurdy, who was the talisman. Let Scott Lindsay, who was the assistant at the time, take us on. And in January, we were sat in the playoffs looking quite good. Signed Charlie Austin, quite a big statement of intent to get promoted. And then the wheels come off again. Scott Lindsay leaves for Crawley. Ben Gladwin goes to Crawley. We lose Louis Reed to Mansfield. Angus MacDonald, who was our captain at the time, goes to Aberdeen. And we just lose the spine of the team and the experience. And it sort of, it goes wrong from there, where you don't go and get that experience. There's no secret. It's one of the youngest squads in League Two. I think from Saturday against Crewe, the average age of the starting 11 was 22. Jody Morris came in sort of after Scott Lindsay and 4 wins from 18. We've just fell short, not being able to hold the leads. I can't remember how many games that we've gone into the 80th minute being 1-2-0 up and then lose the game. It happened to us starting in February, 1-0 up. And it looked like that was sort of the turn that we needed. And then, 2 goals in the last 10 and we're losing that game. So, I think just the inability to hold a lead, lack of experience in the team, that's probably just where they've fallen short.
A lack of experience changes over time, though, so hopefully a good foundation to build on over the next season or two. But no, appreciate the insight there. What we'll do now is we'll get stuck in to the listener lock-in and the predictions. Just to very quickly, I know I mentioned it earlier, but Ado joined us last week, scored 2 out of 6, landing his wild card and his lock. And lads, overall, it was a pretty good week. All of us getting 2 out of 3. First time for quite a while that we've done that. So let's try and do one better and see if one of us can hit 3 out of 3 this week, especially with it being the last weekend of full league football. So a real big opportunity to get 3 out of 3 ready for a Premier League only end to the season. But as always, we are going to start with you, Liam. I've sent you over the information, but from Friday to Monday, from the Premier League down to and including the National League playoffs, who is your one team, who is your lock that you're most confident will get a win this weekend?
I'm going to go for Stockport to beat Hartlepool. I think Hartlepool already down. Stockport on a great run of form. I just think they're just going to go and get the win. Whether that Tranmere do them a favour or not, I don't know. But yeah, we'll go Stockport, win at Hartlepool.
That was my number one.
Yeah, me too. So 3 motherfuckers and Kemp's nodding, so potentially 4 motherfuckers there for you for picking Stockport.
Wiped us all out there.
Yeah, definitely. So it's down to the wheel. Sam, you've been first 2 out of the last 3 weeks and second in the other week. Are you going to have the same luck today? I will spoil it and say that no, you are not first this week. Up first with their their first backup pick, it is Aggy.
Get in. I'm stuck between 2, but I think the one I'm going to go with is Man City to win at home to Leeds. Just so Sam can't take it, I'm going to go for it.
For the record, I've not
Again.
even got that written down.
That's like deja vu. That's copy and paste, isn't it? Man City
Yeah.
were actually for once my first backup. I can't recall actually going for them. Maybe I have once, but
Tough week, I think, this week, actually, picking these. I did struggle with a couple.
yeah, last game of the season for a lot of people. A lot of games where there's nothing to play for, so
Yeah.
tough
The
to pick
Burnleys
what
and Sheffield Uniteds, they've, that's what I mean. Tough.
That's the one. So quite important to get a high pick then. And up next, Sam, your luck is still in. You're up.
Ooh, flying with these at minute. Right. So I think this is quite controversial. I'm going for an away win, which is quite unusual on the lock, and I'm going for Bolton to win away at Bristol Rovers.
Okay.
Bolton have only lost once in the last 5 and can cement a playoff home game with the win. And Bristol Rovers have lost 4 out of the last 5, drawing the other, so they're even 1 in 5. So yeah, I'm going to go for Bolton to win away at Bristol Rovers.
So you mean you're selling out?
What?
You're selling out. The amount of times you gave me grief for picking away teams.
Gave Adam some right shit about picking an away team.
There's a bit of difference in last game at Caesar when it's a bit slim pickings and I've had not much to go at. You've moaned at me for picking Man City, so here we go, picking Bolton away. At least I've not picked fucking a dying Nottingham Forest away at Blackpool. And got
that's never going to be beaten in terms of badness.
So don't fucking start throwing shade here, boy.
So that, mate, that's it.
Well, I'm glad you went Bolton because I've got 2 picks left, and I am yet again. This wheel hates me since I started doing it. I am last, so Kemp, you are up next. But I'm fine in the knowledge knowing that if you do take one of the teams I've got written down, I have got one more backup. So,
and I've got a sneaky feeling we might have the same teams, but let's just go with it. I'm going to go with Liverpool at home against Brentford. Liverpool have been in fine form, chasing top 4, and I think that they've won 5 of the last 5. They're really starting to look like the Liverpool of old a little bit again now. So Liverpool at home against Brentford, and I did have one more just as a backup, just in case, and I'll let you know if who you say, Dawson, were my backup.
Okay, well, I will say that Liverpool were neither of the 2, and I'm going to take the one team I've got left. My backup to that is Brighton at home to Everton, but I'm a little bit unsure on that. So I'm going to get Notts County, no, because playoffs any given Sunday, you never know what can happen.
Wow.
As we'll discuss later with Aggy. But Sam, I'm joining you on the away train, my friend. I'm right there with you. I'm taking Ipswich to beat Fleetwood. Ipswich, flying form. Fleetwood, absolutely not. And Ipswich, with a win, have the potential to win the League One. They're a point behind Plymouth, so need a win to give themselves a chance, well, other than goal difference. But you'll assume they're going to go all out to take the win. So I'll take Ipswich this week as my lock.
Aggy's raging here with away picks, isn't he?
I'm not raging, mate. You've joined my side. I go for away teams on locks regularly.
That's fine. Kemp, just for the record, who was the other team that you had ready?
Notts County.
Oh, interesting. So,
I
I
had
had neither of them.
as well.
That's fair. On to the scorers. And Liam, yet again, you get the benefit of picking first. So who is the one player from the same days, from the same leagues that you are most confident will put the ball in the back of the net this weekend?
So, sticking with the League Two, I'm going to go with Andy Cook to score against Leighton Orient.
It's my first pick again.
I think Leighton Orient probably on the beach now, done the job. Bradford don't need a win, but need a convincing scoreline just to keep themselves in the playoffs, make sure they don't get pipped. And obviously a win, depending on other results, gives them a bit of a home advantage. So I think, 28 goals this year. I think he's a shoo-in to score.
I've just had an absolute nightmare, by the way. I've just been sitting here thinking, as Charlie Nicholas would say, and I've just said Bolton are playing for a home playoff game. And then I've just sat there and thought, wait, it's a fucking 2-legged playoff match. Well, I'm thinking NFL, aren't I, where it's one and done. Oh, my God.
You're thinking National League North, where you play final at your home stadium.
An absolute nightmare there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
To be fair to you, mate, none of us picked you up on it, so we're just as bad. So you can have it.
That one.
Me going last on the locks means I go first on the scorers. And yes, Liam, you have taken my first pick for both lock and scorers so far. So if you have a good week and I don't, I'm going to be absolutely fuming. But it is what it is. Now, I'm going to go with a player that isn't necessarily in good goal scoring form, but is somebody that I've wanted to pick for a few weeks. And if I'm going to pick him between now and the end of the season, this is probably the best time to do it. I'm going to take Mitoma for Brighton at home to Everton. As I mentioned a minute ago, I do think Brighton will get the win. If they don't, they should score some goals. And he's one of their best attacking threat. So I'm going to take him while I've got the opportunity before the season ends. I'm going to take Mitoma for Brighton, and that means Kemp. It is, mate. I thought I'd go a little bit different. You could have your Langstaffs, your Chaplins, your Haalands, but
hey, you're one that picks fucking Langstaff.
I know, and he never scores when I do. He's not scored in about 5 games this season. It's every time I've picked him. But Kemp, you were second last for the locks, which means you get to go up next for the score. Who have you got?
Very, very nice of you in terms of picking a player that you've wanted to pick for a while. Get it in there just before the end of the season. I don't give a flying fuck. I want a goal scorer. I want a tick. So I'm going Erling Haaland as it happens.
Look at it.
I'll bear that little dig in mind for if and when Mitoma bags a goal.
Oh, it's not a dig, mate. It's if it comes in, fair play, well done. But I'm not doing it for sentimental reasons. I want to fucking win.
Just do us a favour, Skinch. Go ahead and put a tick at side of Kemp's scholar already.
Yeah. Was he your number one pick this week?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
okay.
Again, I've avoided him. I've avoided City and Haaland completely. So
okay. Well, for once, it's not I'm scrambling, so I'm going to have to take Haaland. You're going to actually get to pick who you've researched on. So who are you going for?
Right. So I've got 2, and I'm going to choose. It's a bad decision when you choose heart over head, innit? But I'm going to do it. I'm going to choose David McGoldrick to score away at Sheff Wednesday. I knew Kempy would love that. It's 22 league goals this season. He's been an absolute pinnacle in everything Derby doing. Obviously, Derby is still playing for that last playoff spot for Peterborough. Both teams got 2 hard games. Obviously, Derby away at Sheff Wednesday and Peterborough away at Barnsley, is it, I think? I'm going to go David McGoldrick to bag.
Celebrating in front of Cop. That'd be a dream. Go on, Dave. Go on, Didzy.
Yeah, as soon as he said he's going heart over head, I knew what was coming. But no, why not? He's had a great season, I'd just say. So why not get it in on the last game? Aggy, Ollie Watkins is still available. Is he your pick, or are you going somewhere else?
I've got him written down. I'm not going to go with him. I've actually got 4 written down. I've got Chaplin, Macaulay Langstaff, and Ollie Watkins as your typical ones. And as much as it may sound quite typical, I'm going for Harry Kane for Spurs against Crystal Palace. I know Crystal Palace have picked up a little bit of form, but they're safe. They don't need to worry about relegation anymore. And if Spurs ever seem to score, it seems to just be coming from Harry Kane all the time. So I'm going to go with him.
Why not? So that's the scorers. Liam, you've took all of our first choice for the lock. You've took my first choice for the scorer. Who are you going to upset this time with the first pick on the wild card?
It depends if you're going to count this one as a wild card, but I'm going to go Burton to beat MK Dons because I think Burton mid-table, you'd expect them to be on the beach. Bit difficult, but I think there's a fair few football fans out there that would like to see MK Dons come down a league.
Yeah, well, Burton are currently 5-2 with MK Dons at evens, mates, who are more than welcome to take Burton as your wild card this weekend. And based on your logic, I'm surprised at the gap in the odds. So solid pick, mate. So Ag, we're back round to you. I've only got 2 wild cards, so I really hope it's not a repeat of last week where I was scrambling like fuck. Let's hope I can get through these next 3 picks with at least one of those 2 intact. Who are you going for?
Just for the record, there, I celebrated way too early when I had Liam had picked Burton. Or whoever it was, I celebrated early, thinking it was me picking next, and Aggy's definitely about to pick who I've got. So
okay. Have you just got the one ready? Have you? Or?
I've got 3. I have got 3, but the other 2 are very, very questionable.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you to have Derby to win at Wednesday. I'm going to go. There's one game that I did see, and I thought this is crazy that it's a wild card, but I'm going to go with it, and that's Bournemouth to win at home to Chelsea.
That was it. You bastard.
The other one I got written down was Arsenal away at Newcastle. I was quite surprised that were a wild card, but I've stuck with Bournemouth to win at home to Chelsea.
Fair.
Seeing as I'm second, I may as well just follow up straight to that because Arsenal away at Newcastle was my backup. Put me down for Arsenal away at Newcastle.
I have done and will do. And with 1 pick left, I've still got my 2, so I'm very, very happy. Kemp, who are you taking?
I'm taking Coventry against Middlesbrough. Coventry have been in fine form over the past few weeks, and Middlesbrough, your boy, has unfortunately dropped off a little bit. Dawson at the helm there. A little stat floating around social media recently. Michael Carrick, the second coming and all this bollocks. Sheffield United have actually picked up more points than Middlesbrough since Carrick joined the club. But, whatever. Media will do what media does. And I'm going to Coventry to beat Middlesbrough to upset Dawson even further.
No, I'm absolutely fine, mate, because both of the picks I had prepped have not gone. So I'm going to take my first choice pick this week. Aggy, you'll be happy with this, and it's Colchester to win at home against Mansfield. Mansfield are pushing it. They've got a chance at a playoff spot, but it's going to be tough. And Colchester in pretty good form. So I think, yeah, I'll take Colchester this week. Tough one this week on the wildcards, I thought, especially with it being the last game for a lot of teams. So yeah, I'll happily take them. So Liam, we've got your lock, we've got your scorer, and we've got your wild card, which means we have 3 games left. I sent them over to you, and I've gone League 2 just for the last games, some playoff implications in there. But first game, as always, the team that you support. So Swindon versus Crawley. What have you got as the score for Swindon's last game of the season?
So obviously, with Jody Morris gone, Gav Gunning's going to take over as the interim manager. Last time he did that earlier in the season, we beat Grimsby 5-0. So I think you're going to get a response, and I'm going to go Swindon 3-0 against Crawley. Crawley got nothing to play for either, so play a response, 3 or 4-0, but I'll go 3-0.
Hope you get it, mate, with big Gav Gunning as well.
Yeah,
absolute rock at the back.
Yeah,
love that. Is that a heart decision or a head decision?
I think, in all fairness, it's a bit of both. You know, Scott Lindsay's gone in and done his job at Crawley, kept them up. But I think, yeah, you know, under Gav Gunning, a few players might want to have a bit to prove.
Yeah, bit of both. Head says 1-0, heart says 5-0. So you've met in the middle and gone 3-0. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
I like it. Solid logic. And we're going to your lot. We know who you think is going to win based on your lot being Stockport, but Stockport versus Hartlepool. What have you got as the scoreline there?
So I've gone for a drill in there, 5-0. I think Stockport will run riot.
Interesting. Very good form. Paddy Madden leading the way. I'm sure he'll fancy a goal or two this weekend. And finally, another team that you did mention earlier when discussing your lot, you mentioned Tranmere potentially doing Stockport a favour and getting a result at Northampton. Are you committing to that with your score prediction, or do you think Northampton will have enough to give them the shot at the automatic promotion?
I am. So I went to Tranmere away with Swindon, and they sat deep, defended pretty well, and hit us on the counter-attack. And I think they'll do exactly the same for Northampton. I think it will sit as a 0-0. I think the longer the game goes on, Northampton are going to get a bit of deja vu from last year and fall at the final hurdle again. Okay.
So the score to beat still is 3, held by Chris Bigg and Paul Martin. And I said Chris Martin, but that's a different person. So just to confirm your picks for this week, lock is Stockport, scorer is Andy Cook for Bradford, wildcard is Burton, Swindon to beat Crawley 3-0, Stockport to beat Hartlepool 5-0, Tranmere to beat Northampton 0-0. What's your prediction for how many you're going to get right out of 6?
I'll go confident now. I reckon there's a good 4 in there that I think I do fancy Andy Cook and Stockport as a definite. So I'll be ambitious. I'll go 4. Let's say.
Let's go. This time next week, we could potentially have a new leader when we're discussing the scores. I like the confidence in, but looking at Sam and Adam's reaction to that. I think they do too. But yeah, real pleasure having you on, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing what Swindon do in the summer. See if they can push on for the playoffs next year. I'm sure you'll enjoy a little trip to Wembley potentially for a playoff final. They're long overdue it. But we're going to close off on the question before we let you drop out and we crack on with the rest of the show. We're going to give you the question that we end with everyone, and that is, who is your sporting hero and why?
Oh, you've caught me out there on that one. Oh, Jesus. Wasn't expecting that one. It used to be Ryan Giggs, but obviously, you know, given the recent turmoil, that's not gone very well nowadays.
Homer Simpson gift just backing off into the bush.
I think for me, probably Tyson Fury is one that you can hit home with quite a lot. The mental health stuff that he's come through and come back to win the world title. He sort of hit a real low, and to come back into it, I think that's someone to think about. But yeah, you've caught me off radar there.
He never tells people about that last question.
Yeah, I know.
That's put him on spot.
That's caught me out. But yeah, growing up, the other one was Michael Schumacher. I think Formula One. I think that's where my love for Formula One came in. Dominated.
You picked a very interesting 3 there.
Can you imagine dinner party? Tyson and Schumacher 10 years ago. Not that.
Yeah, you've caught me on the spot there.
I didn't want to say it.
Under pressure, that one.
No, they're solid picks, and like Sam said, it'll be an interesting dinner party. Plenty of backgrounds, plenty of different careers, and I think they're solid picks, mate. But again, we really appreciate the time. Hope you enjoy the evening, mate, and good luck to you with your picks for the listener lock-in.
All right, cheers, fellas.
Cheers, Liam.
Cheers,
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
I'm glad you said it, Sam, because I'm biting my tongue trying not to say something, but it's
Low-hanging
all
fruit,
good.
as they say. Low-hanging fruit.
It is. You never know what zingers will come out when we're recording live without edits and all the way straight through. And we'll
Just a quick one. You know, when I was doing my research earlier, I stumbled across. You know what the odds are for Everton to win away at Brighton this coming? Is it Monday? Is it?
It is. Go on.
7-1. When have Everton ever been 7-1 in past to beat fucking Brighton? It just shows the disparity between two clubs. I mean, but I don't think Brighton are that good at the minute. I think they've dropped off over since that cup for semi-final from United. I don't think they've responded very well. So I think a 7-1 shot for Everton needing a relegation scrap. I don't think it's too bad or bad.
I hate to be that guy, but they beat Wolves 6-0 last weekend, so that might have something to do with it. And playing United at the minute, which was 0-0 at the last check-in, but let's do a very quick live check-in. It is still 0-0 at half-time. But Sam, I'm going to stay with you for our first subject, and as I said at the start of the show, that is Manchester City. So recent results, they won again last night, 3 second-half goals. They won at the weekend. They're now top of the table with a game in hand still to go against Brighton, who we just mentioned there. As we know, we've spoke about already, they're due to be in the cup final against Manchester United. Is a bit of a late one this year, but they're there and ready to go. And by the time we record next week, actually we might not because we're at darts, but by the time next week's episode's released, they will have played the first leg of that Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. So based on where we currently stand, we've not really spoke about it too much, but Manchester City and the treble, based on what they've got in front of them now, is it nailed on, or are there hurdles in the way?
I think there's a fair Madrid-shaped hurdles and United-shaped hurdles. I mean, the cup final. Picture this though: they go on to win the Premier League, which I think is quite comfortable in saying now. Kempy, take me hat off to you. We've had this. Obviously, if they go on to win the Premier League, they go on to win the Champions League. Picture that. It's the last game of the season. It's Man City against Man United. The FA Cup final is after the Champions League final.
Is it really?
Yeah,
it's late.
So it will be.
That's not usually the case, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not at all. Yeah,
Oh.
So it'll be down to Manchester United to defend their honour of the only treble winners. So that game could have massive implications. Not that it already isn't being a cup final, but just picture that.
Historical implications, though, more than anything else in that respect.
Yeah, huge, absolutely huge, and it's United to defend
because
their
it's
own.
the same 3 trophies, isn't it? It's the Premier League, the FA Cup,
the
Champions League.
It is the treble.
It's not. Yeah. Well. Here's a very, very quick discussion point. If you win the Premier League, the League Cup, and the Champions League, is it the same treble?
No, it's not. It's not the treble. It's the same as Liverpool winning Premier League, a League Cup, and UEFA Cup.
No, but
it's not.
No,
the treble. The treble.
That's not what Liverpool
the treble
did.
does not involve the League
That's
Cup.
not what Liverpool
did.
Oh no, they won the FA Cup.
Liverpool win UEFA Cup, FA
League
Cup, and League
FA
Cup.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
that's right.
Sorry,
but that's interesting to me because, in my opinion, the League Cup and the FA Cup are pretty much the same thing.
Not for me. Not for
Why?
me.
The treble is always the FA Cup.
I think we both know. I think all 4 of us sitting here know that the FA Cup is far more prestigious than the Cardiff.
No, I know. I get it's more prestigious, but in terms of playing on the pitch,
because it's more prestigious. So do you think all 90-minute games are the same thing when you put it down to that, aren't they?
No, but I mean the competition is the same thing. It's not as if you're comparing the Champions League to the Johnstone's Paint Trophy, is it?
No, I think
it's different.
The EFL Cup's like the best team in the top 4 or 5 divisions. The FA Cup is the best. No, it's not. It's the best team in England because even the lower ranked teams are included within that.
But they never get anywhere near. So
they don't. That doesn't matter, does it? That's irrelevant. They're actually competing in it, whereas in the EFL Cup they're not.
Lloyd Christmas in it. So you're saying there's a chance. There's a chance. No, I can't agree with you on that one. I agree with you.
No. I'm not saying that's the point. I agree that the Premier League, the Champions League, and the FA Cup is the treble, but it's an interesting conversation point from my perspective.
It's a treble.
The League Cup and the FA Cup are not historically, but on the pitch, very, very, very similar in my opinion. They're a domestic cup for the top division. So interesting talking point. But it's going to be historical implications big time. And Man United will want to do everything they can to stop that from happening.
I think if I do think if we've already discussed that with the winner of Madrid or City, I think we'll go on to win the Champions League. Obviously, neither Milan team's going to like that statement, and they're obviously going to do everything they can to upset the party. But I would think whoever's coming out of this next semi-final is probably going to be the one that goes on to win it. And it, like I say, it's all down to that United FA Cup final. That just salivating at the thought of that now.
I like it, and yeah, I didn't actually. I knew it was later on in the season this year, but I didn't actually realise the FA Cup final was after the Champions League final. So if City have lifted the Premier League trophy, if they beat Madrid and then one of the Milan teams to win the Champions League, and it all comes down on the 3rd of June, which is when it is, because it's Coldplay at Etihad Day, which I was surprised to see. Yeah, what a day that will be for both sets of Manchester fans, because there's going to be so many implications other than just who's going to be lifting the FA Cup. United will, if that's not extra incentive, I don't know whatever will be than that. So yeah, this time next week will be even clearer, because there will be more games played. Premier League title will be even closer to ending, and City will have played Madrid and we'll know how they're looking in terms of getting to the final. So very interesting. Hope they don't do it, obviously, but if they're ever going to do it, I think this is their year, personally. But we will see. On to our next subject. And Kemp, I'm going to come to you for this one, purely for your love of dogged, UK-based, rugged, and all the other words.
Brexit football is what you're saying.
Yeah, Brexit football is what I'm trying to say without saying it. But relegation battles and these old-school managers swooping in to get the job done in the last few games of the season. We've seen it with Warnock, we see it with Mick McCarthy, we've seen it with them all over the years. But in this scenario, Big Sam is back. Leeds currently 17th, so they're one spot out of the relegation zone, but they're only out of it on goal difference. They're right in there, they're right in the thick of it. Big Sam, he's got 4 games to go. What do you think that he is going to bring to the table, or he can bring to the table to ensure Leeds survival? And do you think he is the man to get that job done?
Oh, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Big Sam, he said it. He made himself look a bit of a turnip in a press conference. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. I don't know if you caught it, boys, where he said that in terms of football knowledge and ability, he was on Pep and Klopp's level, which is interesting. I wouldn't disagree with his level of knowledge. What Big Sam knows about football, we would never know in 10 lifetimes, and that is obviously a given. Done some really good jobs. Bolton Wanderers, for example, probably the best job that he did there. But has always been seen as that manager, that old school manager that can bring in, get things organised, and keep teams in the league and get them, doing okay. Big Sam seems fired up for it. He seems ready to go. He seems like he's looking forward to the challenge. I think when it comes to can he keep Leeds up, I think that's more about what the other teams do than what Leeds do, to be quite honest with you. You look at Leeds fixtures now, they've got Man City away, where I don't think any of us can probably see him getting anything there. They've then got Newcastle at home, where again, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get anything from that game. And then they've got West Ham away and then Tottenham at home. Those last 2 fixtures are probably the 2 fixtures that Big Sam's looking at and saying, right, they're the fixtures we can get points from. And if you look at the table, like you said there, Dawson, they are right in the thick of it. They're on 30 points. They are literally just out of the relegation zone on goal difference to Nottingham Forest. I think personally 3 points would do it. To be honest, I can't see Forest picking up 3 points between now and the end of the season, or even more, 4 points. It's a very, very difficult one. Put a gun to my head and say, can Big Sam do it? Yes, I think he can. I think he can get in there. I think he can get them organised. I think he can stop the bleeding in terms of them conceding as many goals as they are right now. But he's not going to do that against City, and he's probably not going to do that against Newcastle. So it all comes down to the last 2 games of the season. Big Sam bringing some organisation in, a bit of passion from that Ellen Road crowd. Fingers crossed for Leeds fans and for Big Sam, he can get the job done. Do I think he can do it? Probably yes, but it is going to be a very, very big ask, and it's going to be a very, very tough one. But if it doesn't work, Leeds have spent a lot of money on a manager that's unfortunately taken them down, which is a very, very bad decision if you look at it in that respect. But that's football.
That is football indeed. And Aggy, I'm saving the last question of the football segment for you. Now, this is a question that I put in our Loaded Sport messenger chat the other day. Kemp said it was a good question and to save it, so I deleted it. And you've been sat all week trying to find out what it is. And this is it, basically. It's more of a, I'm just going to put something out there and let you respond in terms, instead of an outright question. But you were quite vigorous and you were quite assertive in terms of your thoughts about Wrexham's success this season, and not necessarily that they've bought success, but they've had the money and they've had the resource to go and do what they do and get the type of players that they've had come in to ultimately win them the National League title and get promoted. I want to pose to you some of the pieces that Chesterfield have found themselves having this season and over the last sort of season or two, and see what your thoughts are. Now, Paul Cook is a manager that most recently has been at Ipswich in league football, quite high up in league football, certainly not on Chesterfield's level. I don't think he'd be at Chesterfield if he hadn't have been there before, and I don't think he'd be managing any other non-league club. Armando Dobra is a player that you've said yourself that he's only at Chesterfield because of Paul Cook. He was at Ipswich himself. And do you think he would be at Chesterfield or any other non-league club, National League club, if it wasn't for Paul Cook being there? Ollie Banks, centre midfielder. He most recently played for a team that had been promoted in Barrow and has left them to come back to Chesterfield, who he played for before. Akinola on loan from Arsenal, and I don't think there's many other teams in the National League that are benefiting from having a player on loan from a Premier League club, despite him not playing a huge amount of time or minutes. Andrew Dallas, who has come in and has been in absolutely phenomenal form these last 4, 5, 6 games, is a player that at the time of signing you said the only reason that he's being signed is because Solihull needs to get him off the books, and he's going to be someone that's going to be highly coveted in the summer. So do you think that Chesterfield, despite them not having a Hollywood owner and all the attention and the big money that brings in, do you think that Chesterfield have benefited from the fact that they used to be a league club, so they've got some connections and they've got some ex-players and people that have come back, and then they've benefited from that in other people that have followed? And do you think potentially they have also bought their success that's sort of above the ground that they currently stand on, or should?
Have we bought the success? No. Have we played on previously being a Football League club and having the contacts? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that comes part and parcel of being a former Football League club. Paul Cook, you're absolutely right, would not be at Chesterfield if it wasn't for the fact that he'd previously been with us. But Paul Cook's interview when he re-signed for us was the fact that we gave him a chance to make a name for himself, and he took that, and fair play to him. He went on to manage Portsmouth, Wigan, Ipswich, some other sides, played in the Championship. I think even with Wigan, got a 1-0 win over Pep's Man City in the FA Cup one year. So he's had a lot of experience, and he's come back because of how much he loved being at the club. Ollie Banks, something very similar. He came back because of his experience with the club, and he said he really enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think from that aspect, you've got to say that we are kind of playing on some of our previous Football League experience. Dobra, Brandon Horton, both players from Ipswich, played under Cook before. So, yeah, they've joined us because of Paul Cook's experience and what they thought of him as a manager, which I think, again, goes down to the credit that we helped Paul Cook create his own managerial style, really, and push himself further up for his career. I don't think we've bought the league at all. I don't think it's anything like that. I think what we have done is played on the experience that we had in the Football League to help build this portfolio of players to help push us up back into the Football League. Do I think it's going to work? Fingers crossed it does, but it's going to be tough to get past this Notts County side that are a cut above everybody else at the moment in the playoffs. Wrexham, Notts County have been fighting admirably all season, and it'd be a shame that both of them don't go up. But if it's at the expense of Chesterfield, I'm not going to say it's too much of a shame, really, am I?
No, it's not. And Sam, you were nodding your head there just as Adam got started with his first couple of statements in his response. What are your thoughts? Are you fully with him, or do you think there is that element of they've benefited where other non-league clubs would have?
They've definitely benefited, but I don't think you can hold that against them. I think they'd be absolutely nuts to not benefit from it. It's it's part and parcel of the order of the pyramid, really. Your teams come down, you're going to try and use every single bit of resource you've got to get straight back to where you were. So I can't really fault them for that. Like you say, players like Dobra, and that is maybe a slightly different matter. But no, I think in terms of using your resources that are at your disposal, I don't think there's much wrong with that myself.
And I completely agree with that.
Well, there you go. Off you go. You're going to say the exact same thing as me, and you're probably going to phrase it better. So off you go.
Well, I completely agree with that, and I completely agree with Adam's point as well, which are similar. So they're using the resources that are available to them to their full advantage. So what's the problem with Wrexham doing that as well? Because it wasn't their fault they got bought.
I don't have a problem with it.
This is obviously specifically to Adam.
By the way, I think Kemp's referring to parachute payments in the championship.
No.
We get parachute payments as well.
My point is exactly the same as Dawson's in the sense that Adam's direct quote there is we are using the resources that are available to us in the sense that we were a League One club at one point.
Yeah.
We're now down in the National League. We're using that to our advantage to attract players. We've got a good manager, good facilities, etc., etc. This is why he should come and play for us. Ultimately, Wrexham have been bought by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who've got decent amounts of money for the National League, a lot of exposure. This is why he should come and play for us because we're going to try and get us back up and we've got a lot of exposure, blah, 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 using their facilities and what they've got to their advantage. Exact same situation. The only difference in Adam's mind, one's Wrexham and one's Chesterfield. One won the league and one's doing fucking shit. That's
Chuntering, no in background. No.
I wouldn't say third in the National League is doing fucking shit. I'd say that's still quite a good season.
Seeing as though you were in League One playoffs not too long ago, mate, I'd say that's fucking wank.
No, only about, 11 years ago. No, you're absolutely right, not too long ago. Oh, mate, you've got your bike, sit down and shut up. Right, the difference is with Wrexham, is they've exploited the no salary cap, if you will, to put it into NFL terms. In the National League, you can pay whatever, and yes, okay, they might have just benefited from being able to have that money to their advantage and used it. I think the issue is more the way it's come across BT Sport, across American media and everything to make it this huge, phenomenal thing that now it even looks like some people that are talking on BT Sport haven't got a clue about the National League or any of the other clubs in it at all. It's focused solely on Wrexham, and it wouldn't have that if it wasn't for the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have bought them.
Would you have half of what you had if Paul Cook hadn't come back?
Yeah, we'd just not have, Dobra, Horton, the two players that he signed, Ollie Banks, maybe that he brought back that he managed at the time. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah, other than half at the squad, that's it.
I've named three players, mate. That's
players. Other than our three best players, we wouldn't have
No, they're not our three best players. Dobra's very good, but he's been injured most of the season, so I wouldn't put him down as he's been the most influential player for us this season. There's been plenty of players that put more in. Liam Mandeville. He's been up there, mate.
He's been up there. He scored an absolute screamer against Northampton in second round at FA Cup, and he scored 2 against West Brom in third round when you drew 3-3.
He don't go.
No, when he's been playing, he's an incredible player. That's what I've just said. But he's been injured for half of the season, so we can't rely on somebody that's been injured for a long period of time to carry us through a season. You can't put that down to one player.
Aggy. You can't live your life off Football Manager, mate. You've got to get out there sometimes and see it for yourself.
Fuck off.
I agree with everything that's been said. I just wanted to put it out because I do think money and resource and connections are different things. Or money and connections are different things, but ultimately they create a resource for you to pull from. And I think you've benefited almost as much from the resource you've got as much as Wrexham had. It's just theirs is money, which helps you get over the line. But without the resource that you've had, Chesterfield will be nowhere near where they have been this season. And to be quite honest, with where they have been in the past, they should be by now. You're
absolutely right on that, because we've just got to look at what we've been in the National League since we got relegated. We haven't used our resources that we had to the fullest, and we haven't had the likes of Paul Cook able to bring these players back, or even him as a manager to come back. We've had managers that have obviously left us in relegation fights. We haven't jumped straight back to it. What I'm saying about Wrexham is the finance aspect of things, and there's not just Chesterfield that feel like this. There's other clubs that are down there as well that feel like maybe a salary cap or a wages cap, whatever you want to call it, should be something that's put into the National League.
However, though, when you say on that subject, you say about they've exploited it, that's there for everybody to do. It's not. I would understand your gripe if it's something that's been brought in, this season or since they've took ownership. I would understand it if all of a sudden that rule comes in place where you can spend what you want. That's something that's always been there, and I think exploiting it's the wrong word. It's because it's there to be used.
Benefited from it.
Benefited from it, yeah, okay, benefit, not exploited, fair enough.
I think exploit, yeah, like you say, if it were a rule that's relatively new since their ownership, then fair enough, but it's, as we've all said before, it could have been Chesterfield, it's that random of them owning Wrexham, it could have literally been Chesterfield, and I don't think you'd have had much of a problem with it, and no set of fans would, So I just think you've got to take your sour grapes with this one, unfortunately, mate.
And you know what? Speaking as a Sheffield United fan, I can actually resonate with this because when we played Wrexham in the FA Cup, all the build up to that game was all Wrexham. We're fighting for the Premier League. We're Sheffield United. We've got way more history than Wrexham will ever have. And it's all focused on Wrexham because of Hollywood. So I completely understand what Adam's saying in the media's regard. In that regard, I get it, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of fans, and I've said it before, and you've got to step back and look at it from a neutral perspective. A lot of fans in those games that they played against Sheffield United will have looked at it and gone, oh, I like this Sheffield United. I'm going to follow them. I want to see what they're about. Overall, for me, Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney, bringing attention to the National League is not a bad thing, okay? The only reason that a lot of the fans in the National League are pissed off about it is because it's not them. It's because they're fucking struggling and Wrexham and Notts County ran away with it. And now Notts County are likely going to win in the playoffs. For me, all it is sour grapes.
No, I've given a lot of credit to Notts County and Wrexham, and I feel I have done for how they played football this year. It's the way in which that Wrexham have got the players that they've got that I was a bit frustrated with. And like I've just said then, and you've just agreed with the media aspect of things, it's majority has been based around Wrexham. BT Sport, BBC, when you said that you played in the FA Cup, it's predominantly been Wrexham based. And I think that's because of the signing of the fact that it's been bought by McElhenney.
That's Ryan exactly Reynolds, the reason. But my point is that brings eyes to other clubs as well. It brings eyes to your club as well. This is what you don't understand. You're not seeing the big picture. Nobody last season, season before Wrexham got bought or whatever, nobody's paying attention to the National League. And unfortunately, because of Chesterfield's bad mismanagement and shit managers, right, that's where you are, okay? Like it or not, that's where you are.
No, you're right.
The fact that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney are there, and they have been there, and Wrexham have been there, that is, I know it's difficult to see, but that is only a good thing for Chesterfield because it brings eyes to the club, brings eyes to the National League, and it means that there's more availability in streaming, more funds, more stuff available for you to utilise, like all Paul Cook signings that you've brought in. Now you've got other things that you can utilise to your advantage. So try and step back from it and see it as a bit of a positive at times and try not to be as sour on it. But I understand in a way why you are.
Maybe it's a bit of jealousy, but like I said a couple of weeks ago, if all the media attraction changes next season, then, and like I said, with the streaming aspect of things, if that all changes again next season, that'll probably piss me off a little bit more. If it stays the same as it has done towards the back end of this season, then fair enough, it's worked in the advantage of the National League clubs as well.
I'm going to have to disagree with Kemp on one point where he talks about the sort of just the eyes on the product, because Wrexham are going to be in League Two next year and Chesterfield will still be in National League, so no one's going to give a shit about them.
That's not what I was saying.
I know it's not, but I have to get it in. But speaking of, we've spoke about Notts County, we've spoke about Town. It is the playoff semi-finals this weekend. So Aggy, just very quickly, a lot of people are assuming Notts County will win that 12:30 game on Sunday at home to Boreham Wood. Is that pretty much done and dusted? Do you think Boreham Wood have a chance? And then also the main event for you, 3:30 Sunday, Chesterfield at home to Bromley after they came back to win 2-1 away at Woking. Again, what do you think about that? And do you think Chesterfield be the team to face Notts County in a week or so's time?
Nothing's a given. I think Boreham would have as good a chance as anybody up against Notts County. I think they'll just have a bit too much about them to see them off, and County will go through to play in Wembley next Saturday. As for us against Bromley, they've shown a lot of character to come back from 1-0 down to win against a very tough Woking side. They've been a tough side all season. Just missed out on third place in the National League, like you said, to Chesterfield. I dare say that if the Chesterfield that turned up in the second half of the game against Maidstone turn up, then we'll be absolutely fine. And I know Sam gave me a bit of grief for playing on the fact that we beat bottom of the league by 4-0. I don't give a shit who you're playing. If you score 4 goals in the second half and turn your performance around like that, you can be playing top of the league. It's still a great result and great response. Yeah,
absolutely agree. And I'm at Leeds this weekend, but I'm aiming to be back for about 2:30. So if I'm on my way back and I'm going to be back comfortably, I'm going to look at some last minute tickets, because I don't think it's a sellout just yet, is it, Aggy? So
it's not, mate. No, we've opened up the north stand as well, so we've now got all the 3 3/4 stands set for Chesterfield supporters.
Sweet. So hopefully I'll be there. But yeah, it's hard to say this has got to be the year because of obviously Notts County, but it's time now to really start pushing on into it. Like we've spoke about the resource, and I don't disagree. Like they're absolutely well within their rights, and they should use what's available to them. But if you're going to start bringing in that caliber of manager and that caliber of players, it's got to start paying off, because you've been in the National League for a very long time now. It's time to kick on, I think. But,
yeah, absolutely agree.
Well, hopefully, mate, fingers crossed. Look, I've been to enough games this season to really hope Chesterfield win. As much stick as I'd like to give you for the players that they've got on the papers. But Kempy, it's time to hand over the reins to you, my friend, because this weekend, a little birdie has told me UFC 288 is incoming. So I'm going to let you and Sam bounce off each other while you discuss proceedings. Over to you, mate.
Thank you very much, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Kempy's Combat Corner. What a weekend we've got. We finally, again, I keep saying it, we're finally over all the boxing bullshit. There has been a few quiet weeks of boxing news, which is good. No news is good news in the boxing world these days, in my opinion, and you may potentially agree. But we are now back at the number one fighting organisation in the world. It is back. It is this weekend. It is for the UFC Bantamweight Championship of the world. It is Aljamain, the Funkmaster Sterling, against Henry Triple C Cejudo, returning to fight Aljo for the Bantamweight title and hoping to become C4. As he says himself. What a card it's going to be. What an event it's going to be. Henry Cejudo, former flyweight champion of the world, former bantamweight champion of the world, took an early retirement, what it seemed like from our perspective, from the fans' perspective. But ultimately, he's now back in the cage and he's back active and ready to go to fight for the bantamweight belt. Going to be a close fight. I'll get back to it in just a second with who I think is going to win. I'm just going to preview the rest of the card very, very briefly before I do so. So we've got Crone Gracie making his return to the cage after a few years out due to various different reasons against Charles Jourdain. In the featherweight opening, Crone Gracie is the grandson of Helio Gracie, who is the co-founder of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So mixed martial arts and BJJ really does run in Crone Gracie's blood. He is 5-1, 5 wins and 1 loss, but is a elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. And I think during his time away has rounded his game a little bit as well. Big fan of Crone Gracie personally. Would really like to see him sort of kick on and really live up to the name, the legendary name in martial arts of Gracie, and get himself up to a position where he's a ranked contender, hopefully going for that featherweight strap. Next sort of notable fight is Jessica Andrade, the former women's flyweight champion, I believe she was, may have been strawweight champion actually, but she is a former champion. And she's fighting Yan Zhuanan, I believe is how you pronounce it. A fighter, I believe, originating out of China. And she is fighting Jessica Andrade this week at UFC 288 in the strawweight division. I think for either of these fighters is a really, really important fight. I think if Yan Zhuanan wins, she gets herself into a potential title picture. Jessica Andrade, with her experience and with her title victories in the past, definitely, if nothing else, she's definitely a sort of a final boss before you get to fighting for a title in the women's 115-pound division. So that is going to be a really interesting fight, and looking to see where that goes. Co-main event is between two fighters that have been really on the periphery of title contention in the welterweight division. Really stacked division over the recent years. Leon Edwards, the current champion, Kamaru Usman, the former champion, Colby Covington, Khamzat Chimaev fighting sometimes at 170 when he can make the weight. But then you've got these peripheral guys, like I say, Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns, and these two guys are fighting in the co-main event this weekend. What a fight this is going to be. A lot of people looking at Bilal Muhammad and saying that he should have received a title shot by now. I think I agree. He's on a really, really impressive win streak. Sean Brady, Vincente Luque, Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia, a real killer's row of fights and victories in his recent outings, fighting a really, really dangerous Gilbert Burns. Gilbert beat Jorge Masvidal in Jorge's retirement fight most recently. Before that, fighting Neil Magny, who is always a dangerous guy at the division at the weight. And before that, like I say, really, really close fight with Khamzat Chimaev, who was a killer before he got to Gilbert Burns. Wonderboy Thompson got a victory over him, and then unfortunately lost against Kamaru Usman before that, who was at the top of the tree at the time. So a fantastic co-main event. This could quite easily be a main event of a fight night, maybe not a pay-per-view, but definitely a fight night. And Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns will whet our appetites for the main event, which, like I said before, is the current 135 bantamweight champion of the world, Aljamain the Funkmaster Sterling, against Henry Triple C Cejudo. Me personally, not the biggest fan of Henry Cejudo. I think in his previous fights has bought victories at times. You look at his victory against TJ Dillashaw, albeit a depleted TJ Dillashaw, who actually did test positive for EPO after that fight. So we do have to put that little asterisk in there. But every single major title fight, I feel like Henry Cejudo, there's been an asterisk next to it. You look at the victory that he got to win the flyweight belt initially against Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, arguably the best flyweight in UFC history, if not the best flyweight in mixed martial arts history, before moving across to one championship. But it beat Mighty Mouse for the title by a split decision. Lost against Mighty Mouse before that via knees to the body, but then came back after a couple of fights and a couple of victories against Wilson Heiss and Sergio Pettis to beat Demetrius Johnson by a split decision. I think it was a right decision, but it was razor close, and you have seen them given the other way. So again, that's the first asterisk. Second asterisk, TJ Dillashaw, depleted, never fought at that weight, really drained himself to get down to 125. And if you look at the fight, it was very quick. The stoppage was very soon, in my opinion. TJ could have fought on and did have life in him in that fight. So I think he was very lucky to get that victory. Marlon Moraes absolutely pieced his legs up in the first round and really did some damage to him. He then come back and did beat Marlon Moraes for the vacant bantamweight championship to be the double champ, which, you know, it's a difficult one because he did win the fight. Clearly, he won by TKO. But again, this is probably the only fight that I wouldn't put a major asterisk next to. But Marlon Moraes, never really seen as the top guy in the division, and did give him major problems. He then fought Dominic Cruz for the UFC Bantamweight Championship, defended his belt. This is his last fight, May 9th, 2020. You know, really in the middle of COVID-19, and won with knees and punches. Dominic Cruz came out after the fight and complained about the refereeing performance, and I really do sympathise with Dominic Cruz after this fight. It was a really early stoppage, in my opinion. Henry Cejudo, in my opinion, buys his wins. He'll land shots. He'll look at the referee. He'll land shots. He'll sort of back off, and he'll do everything that he can to get out of there as soon as he possibly can. For me, really impressive guy, martial artist in general, Olympic gold medalist, flyweight champion and former bantamweight champion as well, which is why he calls himself Triple C, triple champion. But in my opinion, I do think Henry Cejudo is a very fortunate guy to be in the position that he's in the sense of winning 2 titles and defending one of those belts as well. Aljamain the Funkmaster Sterling has not had it easy himself, had a really difficult career, and a really tough knockout that he had to deal with as well. On an unbelievable streak in terms of his victories. He lost against Marlon Moraes, which was a brutal KO, but that was a few years ago now, I believe 6 years ago. So it was a long time ago, and since then has just gone from strength to strength. Brett Johns, Cody Starman, Jimmy Riviera, Pedro Munoz, Corey Sandhagen, Peter Yan, and TJ Dillashaw. All fights that Aljamain Sterling has won, and in my opinion, won fairly comfortably. There is an asterisk, a big asterisk next to the first Peter Yan fight. He won via illegal knee. Peter Yan went to knee him. His corner said yes. It was an illegal knee. I think from what I remember, Aljamain Sterling had 3 points of contact to the ground, so one hand and both of his knees, his feet, which means he is a downed opponent, which means you can't knee him in the head. And unfortunately, Peter Yan did and ultimately lost his belt due to that. They then had a rematch in April of 2022, and Peter Yan lost. Aljamain Sterling won by a split decision. In my opinion, it was a unanimous decision. Aljamain Sterling won that fight pretty convincingly. And then on the back of that, fought TJ Dillashaw and won via a very, very convincing TKO. The submission win against Corey Sandhagen before the Peter Yan fights is really, really not to be sniffed at as well. Corey Sandhagen, really, really good guy in the division, and it was a really, really impressive victory for Aljamain Sterling. So for me, Aljo has really, really proved his worth and earned his stripes in that bantamweight division. Aljamain Sterling, I believe, as well, is the younger man. He's 33 years of age in his athletic prime. Henry Cejudo is 36. Aljo is the taller man at 5'6". Henry Cejudo is a smaller man at 5'3", and he does have a massive reach advantage, Aljamain Sterling, as well. In my opinion, this fight will go the distance, and Aljamain Sterling will win by unanimous decision and retain his bantamweight title against Henry Cejudo this weekend. And what an event it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be staying up late for the first time in quite a few weeks for a UFC event. So getting through it, I stayed up for the draft, so did pretty well in that regard. But staying up for the UFC is a different kettle of fish at times. So really looking forward to the weekend, Dawson. Going to be a fantastic weekend of fights. And I'll always break it down next week for you guys on Kempy's Combat Corner.
Yes, you will, mate. Thank you very much. And thankfully, up King Charles, we've got a bank holiday to give it an extra day to recover. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I'm sure it will be a very good event. Now, Aggy, this is where I hand off to you, mate, to talk about the latest in F1. We've just come off of the early season break. We had 2-3 races, and then they binned it off for a month. So Baku last weekend, mate, a dominant Red Bull performance as we discussed and as we predicted. Not like it's an outlandish prediction, but what are your thoughts on what happened in Azerbaijan, and what do you think we can look forward to this weekend in Miami?
Just seems to be straightforward. The office, doesn't it, for Red Bull at the moment? 4 races so far this season. All 4 have gone in favour of Red Bull, leading the constructors. As a result, Max Verstappen now leading the Drivers' Championship by just 6 points, with Sergio Perez just behind him. And it looks like the two of them are finally starting to see some common ground, as Red Bull are letting both sides fight for both drivers, should I say, fight for the championship. A win in Baku for Checo, second place for Max Verstappen, means it just looks like it's going to be a Red Bull dominated season from start to finish. George Russell, one of only 2 people on the grid to pit more than once in the entirety of the race. I'd expect to see much more pit stops from everybody really in Miami. It brings up one of the more unpredictable tracks. Some tracks have lengthy stints where you can easily set your car up for straights and then obviously take the hit on the narrow corners that are provided. Miami seems to have a nice little mix of both, so it makes things difficult for some of the drivers, some of the teams to really predict what's going to happen, especially racing around the Hard Rock Stadium. The weather is quite unpredictable in Miami, which means it's looking like you're going to have to go with more hard and medium tyres than seeing the chance of soft. I'm not sure if you'd agree with me on that, Skin. We've both raced around Miami quite a lot, and there's some long stints for cars with the tyres, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree that this is a 2-stop, trying to get on them longer lasting tyres and really push them to the ground. So yeah, I agree with you there.
This week, I'd probably go as far as saying I'd expect another win for Red Bull. I don't think that comes as much of a surprise. I think the bit that we'll really start to see Red Bull have its toll taken is maybe in 5-6 races time, where Perez and Verstappen are both competing for the championship, and that's where clumsy little challenges are made to try and overtake, and points become more vital for both drivers. But at the moment, there's still a long way to go, and therefore, if Verstappen's leading, Perez doesn't have to be as reckless, and you could say the same vice versa. But here's something I'm going to ask you, Skin, as a Red Bull fan. I've seen a lot of people talking about how the majority of Verstappen's overtakes do tend to be reckless and thoughtless and lead to accidents and incidents. What's your thoughts on that as a Verstappen fan?
I can see why people would think that. Also, on the flip side, I'd say people like Senna, people like Schumacher are always aggressive, and that's where the success come from. You've got to be aggressive if you want success. So I can see the point, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And I think, the car he's in, having to do that is becoming less and less because of how dominant that vehicle is. But a question back to you, because you mentioned about Max and Checo being in a title sort of fight. Max 93 points, Checo 87 points. So currently a 6-point gap between the two. at what point does it become an out and out equal man v man title race, or do you think within the next 3-4 races Max will sort of increase that gap and then it'll become Perez playing number 2 driver?
I think it already is a man-for-man race, isn't it? Both of them going for the race, going for the championship, both of them trying to take as many points as they can. I think Perez has got a bit of a point to prove. Verstappen obviously won that first championship under what people refer to as controversial circumstances, getting that lap on, getting the overtake on Lewis Hamilton on the final lap in Abu Dhabi. Then he went on and dominated another season and won the championship himself. Perez just being looked at the moment as a number 2 driver, trying to prove to people that he can still compete at the top level and he can compete alongside Max Verstappen. And I think at the moment he's proving that he can do that. In Baku, he won by just over 2 seconds. And that's quite a long time in Baku, considering some of the differences that we've had in times in other races so far this season. I think when it gets to a point that one driver is a little bit further ahead than the other, you're going to have to then start looking at maybe having a number 2 driver to see yourself through as the Constructors' Champions. But I think something that Red Bull have working to their advantage at the moment is nobody's on their level. Nobody's even close to them. There's no consistency from Aston Martin. There's nothing from Ferrari. There's nothing from Mercedes. At the moment, it is a clear Red Bull domination. And you can just let them 2 of them fight till the end of the season. And like George Russell said before the season even started, I think it was after race 1, he said that there's only one team that's going to be winning this, and he wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull won every race this season. So far, that is exactly what they've done. And both drivers have been so far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, 4 races, 4 wins, split equally between Checo and Max. But yeah, we'll see what happens over the next few races. So give us your prediction then for Miami, Hard Rock Stadium, driving around it, street track, the latest or the newest track added onto the circuit before Vegas happens in later in the year. But who have you got for pole? Who have you got winning the race?
I'm going to go with Max on pole, and I'm going to go with Checo winning the race after some strange strategy that works out in his favour from Red Bull. And I think the bit that everybody was really that bothered about is who's going to finish 3rd place, because we already know who the first 2 are going to be. And I'm going to go and take a risk on Lewis Hamilton to finish 3rd place.
Very interesting. I'm going to go Max for both because it's the easy pick, but there's no real logic to make you come away from that at the moment. And I'm going to get Ferrari to get a podium this weekend. I think they're due one, so yeah, I fancy it. It's a nice track for them. There's only one real out and out full speed straight, so potential for them to get in and amongst it this weekend.
No, absolutely, completely agree. It's just who's fighting for 3rd place at the moment, and between Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Mercedes, there doesn't seem to be any consistency from any of them. It seems that they could maybe upset the rhythm and the pace that Red Bull are setting. I know Ferrari got pole position last week, but I think that was an error on Red Bull's part, and they still managed to take the win in the race because they're just so much quicker.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll be back next week to discuss the fallout from Miami and see what the Constructors' Championship and the Driver Championship look like after that. But in terms of the Constructors, it'll be an even bigger gap for Red Bull than the 93 points that it currently sits at, I'm sure. Sam, it's your time to shine. We've had Kempy's Comeback Corner. We've had Aggy with the update on the Formula One, and we're now over to you, mate, as we're Go on.
I've been sold a kipper here, haven't I? Fucking hell, you've least experienced fucker lumped with fucking darts. Jesus Christ.
No, mate, if you're full of knowledge, mate, you've made some great points over the last few weeks. And when I sent over the agenda, I did put your name next to the darts, so that's on you. And I thought I'd remind you. Yeah, Premier League, night 13 in Leeds last week. Currently, at time of recording, night 14 happening in Manchester. Night 15 is the big one next week in Sheffield that we'll be there for. But how's the Premier League looking? And where do we stand on which of us might come out on top with a prediction?
Well, Michael Smith went on a bit of a barnstormer last week, didn't he? He opened up his quarters by absolutely steamrolling my boy Dobie. Went into the semis against Peter Wright, beat him 6-2. It was a bit of a buzzsaw. I like to use that term when it's just the sort of player that it doesn't matter who you're playing, you're going to win. You can stick anyone in front of you. And then he went into Gerwin Price, so obviously we all know Kempy's man this year. And he made, I wouldn't say short work of it, but a 6-4 win. That was last week, so he took the night. Currently standing on night 14, we've had Johnny Clayton's beat Adams' man Peter Wright already, so that little comeback we thought it might be due. His night's early, ended early this week. My boy finally won one. Chris Dobie is back with a 6-2 victory over your boy Van der Berg, the dancing Belgian. But it looks like he's currently playing Johnny Clayton in his semi-final, and is currently 4-3 down. So he's got a bit of work to do there. Tonight, we'll go through a couple of predictions then. If knowing what we know, obviously the quarters have already been played and we're halfway through the semis. Start with you, Dawson. Who do you reckon's going for tonight?
I'm sticking with my boy MVG after that big win in the quarters. Kempy battered your man 6-2, so I'm all in, ready for next week. I can't wait. Can't wait for Sam to be leading the booze for Gerwin.
6-2, by the way, on Gear and Prices. No mean feat, is it? That Jesus.
No.
Some performance. I'm gonna go with Michael Smith. I think after his last victory last week, I can see obviously he's just beat Aspinall, so I think he seems to have found his form again pre Premier League, obviously winning the World Championships. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with Michael Smith. I think he's on a bit of a hot streak. Kempy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. Michael Smith, I think, is going to take this one. He seems to be hitting form at the right time. He had a bit of a slow start, and there's been a few weeks you look at Michael Smith and think, oh, has he got a bit of a hangover from achieving his life's dream of winning the World Championship? But he seems to be picking up a bit of steam now, picking up a bit of form, and that's exactly what you want when you're coming up tonight, 14, 15, 16, and then obviously into the semi-finals. So, yeah, Michael Smith, I'm still backing my boy Gerwin Price to win it all, but it's going to be an interesting run-in. But yeah, I agree with you, Sam. Michael Smith is going to win this week in Manchester.
Aggy, as we say, your boy took an early bath. He's liking them this year. I think he must have a lot of bath bombs put to one side.
I'm just going to very quickly interject with a question for Aggy off the back of what you said there. What do you think he spends more time on, the stage on a Premier League night or doing his hair?
100%.
It's got to be here, hasn't it? It's got to be here. Aggy, talk us through.
I forgot what his introduction music is at the moment because he uses it once a week, and that's as good as it gets.
Kemp won't ever forget Peter Wright's introduction music. It's his favourite. He'll be eagerly looking for someone's head to drum on next week when we're there.
I was thinking Michael Smith, but I know Sam and Kemp have both gone Smith, so I'm going to lean towards Johnny Clayton and think there's going to be a bit of an upset. Let Smith and Van Gerwen fight out in the semi-final, and then Clayton can steal the win to get himself through. And I think that might just put him into the top four as well, with 1 week or 2 weeks left to go of the regular season, if you will. But I think Michael Smith has really, like Sam said, found his form. And the thing that bugs me the most about him is it takes me ages, and I know I'm not obviously as good at darts as him, but to even figure out where I'm throwing the dart. And I saw even when Peter Wright was taking ages to take his throws, Michael Smith makes it look so effortless, and it looks like he's been so careless with it, but he's going exactly where he needs to get it. And it bugs me so much, but I think that's credit down to his style, his technique, and it clearly works for him. I think we're looking at him against Gerwin Price in the final if they don't meet in the semi-final in a couple of weeks' time. But Johnny Clayton for this week for me.
They say that there's no one ever been better at the game of darts than him at making his mental calculations on the fly. Obviously, I'd just say it's just one motion into it, bang, 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 3 darts and it's gone. You blink and you miss it. They say that he's like the most, fastest critical thinker that there has ever been when it comes to darts at that level, able to change what he needs.
I'm not sure, Sam. I'm not sure about that one. You see, because
that's what they say.
Yeah, I know. But when we were playing darts at the weekend, and we were both stuck on 25 for about 2 hours.
Oh dear.
We were both critically thinking of ourselves and each other. Fuck me, your shit.
It was funny. We were stuck on. We both ended up on bull on. We were just doing around the clock, and we were stuck on bull for ages and ages. I'm talking. It got me close to half an hour. As soon as Katie goes, right, next person to hit ball, I'll give you a tenner. Fucking nobody a first dart wallet.
It's needed that little bit of extra motivation.
Yeah, do you know what? She transferred it to our lass and I've not seen it.
Yeah, that's gone. That's long gone.
Criminal, absolutely criminal. But no, It's still, again, we always use any given Sunday across any sports, but once we hit that finals night at the O2 Arena, literally any one of those four can win. So it's not just a case of because MVG has been at the top of the table for most of the time, not just because Gerwin Price has been in great form and now got up to the top, doesn't necessarily mean one of them will win, because someone like an Aspinall or someone like a Michael Smith, who, like you said, Sam, is finding a bit of form seemingly at the right time, anything can happen. And next week, lads, we're there. Michael Smith versus Michael Van Gerwen headline in the quarterfinals repeat of the World Championship. And I tell you what, if we get a repeat of that leg, not worth thinking about.
I'm jumping on the balcony for get a repeat at leg.
I was literally about to say. I was about to say I'm not sure if that balcony will hold me up. So yeah, we'll see. Safety first and all that. But we're out early doors, aren't we? So we might be canned up by then.
Bit leery.
Yeah, a bit leery. But anyway, yeah, good chat on the darts. And we're now in, lads, to the home straight and the final sport of the evening, the final update, and that is the NFL. Big talk last week on the draft. That's been the full focus that we've had over this last month, and potential trades and everything else that happens this time of year. But the draft has now come and gone. So what I'm just going to very quickly, we're going to go around the room, and I just want your overall thoughts on your team's draft weekend. So Kemp, I'm going to start with you, mate, because I do think that the Giants are right up there in the conversation for team with the best overall draft weekend.
Yeah, wow. Shane knocking it out of the park yet again. Joe Shane is our GM, and I think he's responsible for a lot of the good that happened at the Buffalo Bills in the past few years. Their rise to prominence is quite well known. So coming to the Giants with Coach Daboll, former assistant at Buffalo Bills as well, and what a draft we've had for the second year in a row. I stayed up for the draft. It was a very novel feeling staying up late on for a Giants draft pick. We tend to be a lot earlier on in the night. And for non-NFL fans, basically, the teams that do the better in the season, they get to pick later in the first round of the draft. So it kind of evens things up a little bit. So the top prospects go to the teams that have probably done a little bit worse in the previous season. They try and balance it out like that. Again, for non-NFL fans, I don't want to kind of preach to you and talk to you like you're stupid, like Neil does on Sky Sports, for example, calling out Neil, Sam's man.
Dina's man.
It's Sam's man fucking fought his hardest to have a picture with him. The fucking
no, that's true.
Fought his hardest? Do it.
Sam, it's disgusting.
Put it on record, Sam. Put it on record. Come on, put it on record.
You say fought his hardest. This is how popular he is. It was still on his own. It was still on his own. No one around him. All these fans outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was just stood on his own. I thought, oh, go on. It was for him.
Sorry for him.
Charitable act.
Did his eyes light up when you asked for a picture?
The reality is that Neil asked for a picture with Sam. But tell people that. But yeah, essentially, the teams that do the worst in the NFL, they get to pick the best prospect from college, or what we would call in the UK university American football. First off, basically get the pick of the bunch of the best prospects. And we were picking late because we did pretty well last season. Got to the playoffs and won the wild card game to boot. So did pretty well. But yeah. First pick for the Giants, Deontay Banks. A lot of people had him as the best, sort of third best cornerback on the board, and we picked him towards the back end of the first round. He clocked in a 4.35 second 40-yard dash, which is absolutely lightning. He looks like a pretty decent athlete. It's going to do a decent job for the New York Giants, and he's definitely a player we can slot straight in at that position straight away, and we don't have to mess about keeping him on the bench for a season or two at all. The next pick, the centre, John Michael Schmitz. A lot of people had him going at the end of the first round. So the fact that
Tina was absolutely begging that Bears ended up with him.
Yeah. So the fact that we could pick him up in the second round, which is absolutely fantastic for the Giants. He fell right into our lap. It is a need, and it's another player that we can start straight away, which is fantastic. He's going to shore up our offensive line, which has been a problem for us in the past few years, and it looks like we've solved that problem. Fingers crossed. The next pick, and I know it's strange because it's a little bit further down the draft than the first two rounds and the first few picks, but Jalen Hyatt, who really looks like a top wide receiver, and he's fallen to us, which is absolutely fantastic.
Mate, Tyreek Hill 2.0 if I've ever seen it. I had obviously we do a mock each year, and I had him going with the last pick of the first round to the Chiefs as that sort of ideal replacement for Tyreek. So mate, you've got an absolute bargain there for me.
And we've picked him up. We've picked him up really well. As you say, looks like a really good athlete. Impressed at the combine in his 40-yard dash, his vertical and his broad jump. I was saying before the draft, I think I mentioned it on the podcast as well, that I was looking for a wide receiver in the draft, and it looks like we've got that. And Jalen Hyatt, for me, is somebody that can, if not start week one, can definitely push the receivers that we've already got to be making a name for himself at that wide out position. And it's something that we needed and another gap filled. So 3 really important positions for the Giants there, all sorted in this year's draft, which is fantastic. And then I'll kind of go sort of a deep dive into one more player I think is worth mentioning, and that's Eric Gray. There has been a little bit of mix up with Saquon Barkley. We were trying to franchise tag him. Doesn't look like he wants to sign that franchise tag. So we are going to try and come to a deal with Saquon Barkley, I'm sure. But yeah, Eric Gray, he looks like a really promising running back. He moves really well. He's got, I think, to be honest, he was one of the top maybe 10 running backs in the draft class. And the fact that he's fallen to us is a really good thing. So looks like he'd be a very, very solid backup. And if not, hopefully in the future, doing a job for the Giants at running back. But it's a very important position for the Giants is running back. It is a run-first offense a lot of the time, whether that be a running back or a quarterback run. And it looks like we've got a decent position there as well. So all in all, I'm absolutely delighted with the Giants draft class of 2023. I wasn't expecting anything less, to be honest. Now Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are in. I'm expecting the Giants draft classes to be top end, and I wasn't disappointed. Pro Football Focus gave us an A+, which is obviously the best rating you can get. And me personally, as a Giants fan, I know I'm probably a little bit biased, but I completely agree. I think they are the best picks we could have probably taken for the needs that we had. And it's good to be Big Blue, baby. Here we go. Looking forward to the season. The only problem is it doesn't start for like another 6 months, so it's a bit of a downer.
That is the worst thing. I'm absolutely screaming out to get fantasy draft done, but we're a long way off that yet. I mean, I'll go next because probably in my whole time as a Patriots fan, this is the happiest I've ever been coming out of a draft weekend. I thought they've drafted brilliantly. A lot of focus on interior O-line, which they needed. Really, really struggled with depth last year, and they've focused hard on that. So really happy with that. Pick number 17, they did originally have pick number 14. They let the Steelers move up and ahead of the Jets at 15 to take the player that they assumed that Jets were going to take, which was an offensive lineman in Broderick Jones. And an NFL GM has come out and said that he does believe that Bill did that purely to fuck with the Jets because he knew Steelers wanted the play that Jets wanted. So absolutely love that. Ended up with pick 17 and pick number 120 overall. And they took Christian Gonzalez, a cornerback out of Oregon. I was so happy. Cornerback was in my top 3 positions that I was hoping they'd go for in the first round. Devon Witherspoon was the number 1 player I was hoping for, and Christian Gonzalez is absolutely not a consolation prize. So many people involved in the league cannot believe he was still available at 17, and he is a day one starter who has the potential to be an out and out all-star cornerback. So for the Patriots to have that and to use that number 1 or the first round pick for that kind of player doesn't happen very often as a Patriots fan, so I cannot express how happy I was with that. Looking just very quickly down some of the other picks, Keon White, an edge rusher out of Georgia Tech, someone that I saw in a lot of mocks going in the first round, giving them that little bit of juice alongside Judon Uchi on that defensive line, Barmore in the interior as well. Again, really, really happy with that pick. Marty Mapu, a safety out of Sacramento State, they got in the 3rd round, and he was actually, even though he was picked 76 overall, he was Daniel Jeremiah's favourite player out of the draft. So we know how in depth he goes with draft coverage and his input and insight on players. So for him to call him his favourite player in the whole draft, I'm really excited about what he can do alongside Kyle Duggar at that safety position. But he does play a bit of linebacker as well, so he does seem to be that real versatile kind of pick that the Patriots love in their back 7. So again, so happy with that. Chad Ryland, 4th round pick. They took a kicker, which is classic Patriots, being one of the first teams to take a special teams player. He's got a lot of hype coming out of college, and I think Nick Folks days as the Patriots kicker is now over, potentially after a bit of a down season last year, despite how reliable he's been. And then a bit the late round pick for me, Keishon Booty out of your boys, LSU. Again, a lot of people had him as a round 1, if not a round 2 pick, sort of earlier in the year and sort of right in the early stages of doing mock drafts. A couple of injuries here and there have made him drop. So to get him in the 6th round at the 187th pick, another weapon for Mac Jones. I've seen a couple of his college highlights and he looks like he's got a bit about him. So yeah, like I said at the start, probably the happiest I've ever been, like genuinely happy and actually excited as well to see these players that they've picked. And I think they're going to make a real difference to a team that are quite possibly now in one of, if not the hardest division in all of the NFL after so much time being just the out and out constant winners. So a big draft was needed and they've certainly delivered. Sam, I'm going to come to you next because obviously the talk going into the draft last week was about that Rodgers trade and moving up slightly in the 1st round and what picks you were going to make now. Rodgers had moved on and were you going to provide Love with weapons? Were you going to focus on the defensive side and, build a really defensively stout team and not worry too much about the points you were going to put on the board with Love? What are your thoughts about the approach they took? Are you happy? And what kind of players do you think are really going to stand out in the rookie year?
Well, I'm glad you've come to me before Aggy because I was just about to jump in and say I'll go next if you don't mind, and we'll finish on Aggy because I do believe Seahawks had probably one of the best drafts out of the whole bunch. So finish on a light note, but I'd describe our draft as a wait and see sort of draft. I don't think you're looking through. Obviously, pick at 13, Lucas Van Ness. It's not the sexy pick as they say. Edge rusher, very athletic, pure power. And he's definitely the one that fits the Green Bay mold. So I wasn't too excited when the pick come in, but having done a bit of research and as you do, watch the highlights, I do think he would fit our scheme pretty well. Pick number 2, obviously coming just inside in the 2nd round after we traded back the second round pick was Luke Musgrave. So we took a athletic tight end, and again reading a bit about him, he was rated the 2nd tight end going into it behind Kincaid.
Yeah, in terms of out and out receiving tight end, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, he can do a bit of both actually. His experience on the blocking in line as well. So it's a typical sort of Packers tight end pick we want, but we've not had a good athletic tight end since Jermichael Finley, so this could be the one. And Aaron Rodgers historically has never utilised his tight ends, compared to your Brady's or your Mannings or any of them. So yeah, it's an interesting chapter in the Green Bay story. If I I'll go down one more pick into the 3rd round. Say, a bit further into the set. We had 2 2nd round picks, didn't we? So pick Jaden Reed, actually, wide receiver. Interestingly enough, we passed over higher the Giants pick. Yeah. To pick Jaden Reed, and I was looking a bit about it, and I think it was more to do with the fact that it's very dynamic in the return game. And the Packers, as you know, the Packers return game last year it took a massive upturn. Obviously, we appointed Rick Bisaccia as our special teams coordinator. I think he's like the highest paid special teams coordinator in the league.
Yeah, he's right up there, isn't he?
Yeah, obviously the Vegas Raiders interim head coach fame. So he's definitely turning things around. It looks like that's his sort of pick that he can do a job on returns while obviously fitting into the receiving game. So now we've got 3 really young receivers that are all going to be coming up together at the same time, along with Jordan Love. So hopefully they get a lot of chemistry together, and we'll see where that takes us. But yeah, it's definitely a wait and see draft. I don't think there was any ready-made stars that we picked like the Giants, like the Seahawks have. But yeah, let's give them a few years and we'll see how they do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I made a bold prediction a few months ago about the Packers having a top 5 pick in the next sort of 2 or 3 years, but I do think that can still potentially happen. Purely because I do think there's some more pieces needed to support Love, but time will tell, as we always say. So yeah, I think you're right, Sam, to close off with Aggy discussing our own team's drafts before I come to you all for your one player that you think has landed the best fit, just the best overall pick based on whatever reasons you want to go with. But Aggy, Seahawks, number 5, number 20, a lot of speculation on where they were going to go, where they're going to go quarterback, where they're going to plan for the future, what were they going to do. What are your thoughts on what they did actually do?
Surprised me a little bit with how we started in pick 5. I think everybody had us down for Jalen Carter, myself included, thinking that was almost a given that we're just going to add a little bit more to the defensive line. But I think our defensive line now looks completely different to what it did last season. I know when I first started following the Seahawks and I was a bit worried about the Russell Wilson trade. I'm just looking back now over the people that we actually got for that. Charles Cross, Kenneth Walker, and now Devon Witherspoon as well. Devon Witherspoon surprised me a little bit, thinking that he wasn't even going to be the first corner off the board, yet we took him at pick 5. And I think adding that to Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant in a secondary that's also got the experience of Quandre Diggs and the returning from injury Jamal Adams makes our defense absolutely phenomenal at the moment.
Yeah, I had Witherspoon as my first cornerback going at number 6 actually to the Lions. I think, and as I mentioned earlier, he was the one player if I could pick for the Patriots, so it would have been him. I think you've got an absolute baller with that 5th overall pick.
And then we moved down to number 20, where it was pretty much anybody's guess as to what we'd do, whether we'd maybe hope for Anthony Richardson, who I think in the end it would have been Will Levis that we'd have had a better opportunity of taking at quarterback. But we didn't. We went for Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I know a lot of people would have liked as their first choice wide receiver from this draft, maybe just to jump in as a third or even a second option with some of these sides. And I think that's more preparing for the inevitable retirement of Tyler Lockett that's down the line, because he's been absolutely incredible for us in his time. And I think with DK, Lockett and Smith and Jigba, we've got a great trio wide receiver set up for Geno Smith to be able to utilise there, as well as obviously Kenneth Walker at running back. Our offence is also looking very, very strong. Moving into the second round, we also had quite an early pick thanks to the Broncos, and that went on Derek Hall, who at over 250 pounds ran a 4.55, and he's playing on the edge, so we need somebody with that extra speed and strength to be able to get to the quarterback and add a bit more pressure, because I think last season and the season before, you could probably add to that as well, we weren't putting enough pressure on the quarterbacks. They were getting too much time in the pocket. And when you're going up against people like Kyler Murray, who's got a lot of energy and a lot of speed to be able to run outside the pocket, it's tougher for us as well. When you've got people like Matt Stafford, who was able to be quite effective finding his targets, and of course now with San Fran, whoever they opt to go for at the time, we've had quite difficulty being able to get pressure onto the quarterback. We've been quite good at handling the run. I think last season we were ranked top 5 for the majority of the season in defence against the run. It was just a pass that was absolutely ruining us because we weren't putting enough pressure on the quarterbacks quick enough. And I think somebody like Derek Hall is going to be quite effective for us. I didn't look at too much further on the draft, if I'm honest. I didn't stay up for the remaining picks, but we've had a little bit more. Anthony Bradford in the 4th round. We didn't have a 3rd round pick. We gave that to the Broncos as part of the trade for Russell Wilson. But Anthony Bradford is part of the offensive line, but that's all we added to the O-line. As I mentioned before, I was hoping that we'd probably have had a little bit more in the trenches, as you like to say, for the offensive line, just to try and help out a little bit more. But as you told me when I first became a Seahawks fan, do not expect much to go into the O-line, because we don't do it. And it's just becoming more and more apparent. We took Charles Cross in the 1st round last year. Him and Abraham Lucas did well as the tackles. And now we've just added one more person to the on the guard. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for us next season. We'll be able to give Geno a bit more time. But we also took 2 extra running backs, which leads me to believe that there's potential that we are going to try and open up a bit more of a run game. Kenneth Walker, you've all said last season, was a standout player, wasn't he? A good shout for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Whether he'd got that much time, had Rashad Penny not gone down and broke his leg, who knows? But I think he's a player that, when I was talking to Kemp yesterday in fantasy drafts, I won't pass on him at the end of the 1st round if he's still on the board at the time. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player for us, and adding 2 extra players at running back will just make that an incredible setup for us. So I'm overall happy with the draft that we had. Would like to have seen a little bit more on the offensive line, but that's never going to happen, is it?
Never, as a Seahawks fan. So we'll go back round the room, and Kemp, I'll start with you again. But who do you think is the best overall pick in this year's draft, and why?
That's a tough one, because this draft was fantastic for a lot of teams, and one of the teams that this draft was fantastic for was the Philadelphia Eagles, who unfortunately in the NFC East got to the Super Bowl last season.
You mean the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, well, yeah, you could say that, but yeah, they are a pretty dangerous outfit, and they scare me. They keep me up at night. They haunt me in my dreams. I think the best pick, pound for pound. I don't know if you boys will agree, but that's what it's all about. I think Jalen Carter. I think he's a real dangerous weapon for the Eagles. If I was Daniel Jones, I'd be writing my obituary already. He's going to be a real problem for every other team in the NFL. The Eagles are a really decent outfit already, and a player like Jalen Carter, a top 10 player, a top talent at defensive tackle, is going to cause major problems for other franchises, and I could potentially see Eagles going all the way this season. So Jalen Carter for me. What do you boys think?
Solid pick, mate. Solid pick.
I'll very quickly go just purely because Jalen Carter was my answer, because it's an embarrassment of riches at this point, isn't it? They've obviously got that number 10 pick off of Saints. They've then moved up to take Carter with him still being there at 9, and yeah, then getting Nolan Smith at 30. Yeah, it's just an absolute embarrassment of riches. And just trying to give someone else. I think maybe Dalton Kincaid for the Bills, just another offensive weapon. He's a fantastic receiving talent. So to give Josh Allen a weapon like that is, again, sort of, if we're talking day one impact or overall rookie season impact, I think he can definitely be up there. But yeah, Jalen Carter for me for the Eagles is ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to go someone a little bit different as well. And I'm going to go Brian Branch for the Detroit Lions. A bit upset about this pick, actually, because that was our pick. That was our second round pick. And we've traded back 5 spots so we could take Jaden Reed, obviously receiver, and the Lions then took Brian Branch. Branch was considered the best safety in the draft, and they've managed to take him in the second round. So I think that's an absolute steal for them. And it's probably one that we will end up regretting. I think he's going to pick off Jordan Love a couple of times over his career. You've heard that here first.
I like it. Bold prediction for the masses. And Aggy, are you going to go with the consensus, or is there someone else that you've got an eye on who can have a real major impact for the team that's picked them?
Will Anderson. I think for the Texans to take CJ Stroud against what everyone expected, and then to trade back into the top 5 and take Will Anderson as third option. Everyone was saying that the Texans are pretty much a side that just keep on trying to throw away the future, throw away the chances, and they never really replaced Deshaun Watson and JJ Watt when he left to the Cards. And then he trades with the Cards to get the third place and take what could have been their replacement for him. Now he's retired. So I think for the Texans to take CJ Stroud and then get into third to take Will Anderson, they can just sit back and relax knowing they've got a great piece on the defense and a quarterback that can set them up for the future. So it's gone from the Texans being a worry, they're never really going to look towards the future, to 2 players that are going to be their future.
How do you feel about that trade up for Anderson? Obviously, did they give up a next year's first as well for it?
They did. They gave up a lot.
Yeah, they gave up a lot to get there. They did give up quite a bit to get there, and I was surprised the Cards didn't take the opportunity to take Will Anderson themselves, because I thought he'd be an excellent piece for them. I'm grateful that they didn't, because, of course, now we don't have to face him twice a year. Some people were expecting him to maybe go first overall, but before, of course, the trade from the Bears back to the Panthers. But I think overall, the trade to get back into third place, they might have overpaid a little bit, but you've got your future all set there, haven't you?
Breaking news: Brighton leading against Manchester United. Is that full time? Oh, full time!
Wow. McAllister 90 plus 7th penalty, is it? 97th minute.
Oh my goodness!
90 plus 9.
Oh, even more so. Late drama.
So, just to put that into perspective, with 2 games in hand, Brighton can go 2 points clear into 5th place. With Man City against Man United in the final of the FA Cup, Brighton, whoever finishes in 5th place, will be in the Champions League next year.
That's incredible.
If they win the Champions League.
The 2 games in hand.
But one of them's against City, and because City's game in hand left's against Brighton, so
yeah, that's right.
Will be, yeah.
Might be a bit tough, that one, but no, fair. But no, I agree with you there, Aggy. It's a good pick. I don't like how much they gave up overall, considering they were at the 12th pick. That there would have been talent there. Would it have been talent as big, or as would have had as much of an impact as Anderson? Probably not. We never know until sort of 3 to 5 years down the line. But you think about the other pieces they would have got down the line with those that they gave away. But I think it's a great trade for the Cards. They use a little bit of that to move back up to take Paris Johnson at was it 6 maybe 6 7
Sixth. They moved up from the Lions, yeah.
Yeah, so of course, I think Lions made that move after you guys taking Witherspoon, but I don't blame them at all for that. But all in all, a lot of teams had a very, very strong draft. I think with evolution and how serious players take it, we're going to find as we move on year, draft class is getting deeper and more talented. But I think a very good first round for the majority of teams. And a very strong quarterback class coming up next year, lads. So really something to get stuck into this time next year. Who's going to need a quarterback? Who's going to be in a position where they've got a very high pick, but they don't need a quarterback? And what potentially big trades could happen? We've got it all to come again next year. But like you said, Kemp, unfortunately, we've now got about 5 months of absolutely no NFL action whatsoever, and then we can start talking pre-season, fantasy drafts, and everything else like that as we get ready to go back in and get back to our weekly reviews and previews. I can't wait. And it was a good weekend overall, lads. I'm sure you'll all agree.
Absolutely.
Well, that's episode 47 in the books. Before we close off for the evening, let's just get some bank holiday weekend plans. Aggie, let's start with you, mate. What you got planned for the long weekend? I'm sure you will be front and centre celebrating the King's coronation.
No, mate, I don't know what I'm doing, to be fair. I haven't really planned anything ahead. On Sunday, I'm going to, of course, the playoff semi-final, Chesterfield against Bromley. Hopefully seeing a win in the next Saturday on my way to Wembley. Saturday, I'm probably just going to be chilling, doing practically nothing. And then Monday, the exact same, day off work, isn't it? So,
like it. Sam, what about you, mate? What you got planned on your long weekend to end a long week off?
Yeah, it's been absolutely bliss. Well, I will be actually surprised, and I will be watching the coronation. Anything like that, I do trying to take an hour out of my life and just witness a bit of British history. So I will be watching that Saturday with some afternoon tea, as Katie's putting together, as she always does. And I have just heard that the Star, our local, me and Kemp's favourite watering hole, is
Kemp's eyes lit up. Then you caught his attention.
They have got a band on Saturday night, and it looked through the set list. It's playing a lot of the Who, the Killers, and the Beatles, all that jazz. So I'm tempted to go to the Star and see what transpires there.
What's your thoughts, Kemp? You didn't look too impressed. You looked impressed, and then you didn't look impressed.
It sounds good. It does sound good, I must admit. But unfortunately, I am working on Saturday night. It is UFC 288. And if I go to the Star, as Sam just mentioned, our favourite watering hole, I will be in bed and be no good to anybody by midnight. So, Unfortunately, we'll have to give that one a miss. But me personally, try and get out and play a bit of golf on Saturday. Sunday, I'm not sure. I think it will just be recovering from the UFC on Saturday night. And then Adam's just mentioned Monday. Not sure, but we're going to try and see if we can get out to Guardians of the Galaxy at some point.
That's tomorrow. That's for me tomorrow. That's
for you. But I have been looking at trying to do VIP in Sheffield for Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend. So availability permitting, we'll try and fit that in as well. So that's what we've got planned. Dawson, what about you?
Well, just on the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll be next weekend when I've got Tommy. So if you can avoid the spoilers, that'd be much appreciated. But I know it's a rookie error telling you that. But
I'm dying, don't you?
Yeah, I'm confident you won't do it to me. But no, this weekend, going to Leeds, bit of a date weekend. I've booked a hotel, booked trains, booked go-karting, booked junkyard golf, going to Gaucho, Sam, for some very good steak that you've said before. So
should
be good.
Number one ever.
A huge statement, and I love steak, so I'm looking forward to that. Number one ranked. And then Sunday get back. I've booked the trains, like specific train back. Moose coffee as well for breakfast Sunday. Can't wait for that. But hopefully get back in time to purchase a couple of last minute tickets for town. But we'll see. If not, I'll stick it on BT Sport.
Little factoid for you on Gautier was me and Katie went. That was the night we got.
Did you go to the Leeds one? Was it?
Yeah,
I feel like
I went to that one. It's posh. They come out and they bring out the cuts, the fresh cuts on a like board, and they show you the cuts. Like this is this is this, and when you can smell the raw meat and it just smells like be ready for it. Yeah. And I like, I've got to have a bit of ribeye, obviously. I had a bit of that.
I'm going to have to take readers, aren't I, for that? I'm going to be in
yeah, you're going to be right into it. They took it away anyway. And Kate said, why did they do that? They're just showing you fresh cut, showing obviously how authentic it is. And, she went, what do you mean? It was plastic, weren't it? She thought they got plastic mold out. She thought they were plastic molds of fake steaks and they were just showing you what they look like.
You know what's brilliant, right? And I think we can all attest to this. You spend so much money taking your missus to a fancy place, and then they come out and say fucking stupid things like that. You just think,
absolutely,
what am I doing here? But I could be here doing with Dawson, who absolutely fucking thrives on it. Sam, who's absolutely balls deep, and I'm here with this fucking bitch who's calling it plastic.
Well, I was going to clip that, but probably not be useful now after this fucking bit. So we'll leave it in the episode for those that are still with us.
Katie, I love you to bits. I'm only joking. It's only a wind up.
A fucking bottle job. Well, yeah, lads, looking forward to it. Pleasure as always. Big weekend coming up, and I think we can all agree for once, especially after the National League playoff match we had to watch earlier this week, lads, which we haven't discussed. Let's hope for a better one Sunday with Town, and hopefully a trip to Wembley, Aggy.
Yep.
Happy days. Have a good night, lads.
In a bit, boys.
Bye.